So the process that we generally use when we're doing body work on surfaces like this is, we'll start with our polyester fillers, to fill any major lows and stuff that we have in the panels. And we'll usually start out with 80 grit or 36 grit, depending on how much sanding we need to do. And once we get that leveled down, on curved surfaces like this, you always want to make sure that you sand diagonal across the panel. So you don't ever want to sand, just straight forward and backwards, because you'll put flat spots or lines into it. We have an assortment of different sanding blocks that we use, flexible blocks and hard blocks. And then once we get to a spot where we're comfortable with our body filler, we'll switch to a polyester surfacer, which is actually what's on this part of the body right now. And it's kind of like a sprayable filler almost, but the polyester products don't tend to shrink as bad as like a regular 2K urethane primer does. So we'll get that, our body filler, primed up in polyester, and then we'll usually start with 120, 220 and get that sanded out. And then once that's good, we'll switch to a urethane 2K. They finish out a lot nicer, and it's a good base for the paint that we put on there. So which is where we're at with the fenders right here. So I'm actually sanding these out in 220, and then I'll switch to 320, 400, and then eventually we'll get up to 600 grit wet, which is where we usually stop, and then we'll seal them before we paint them. So yeah, it's lots of work for sure. So once we get to the painting stage, we'll lay down a 2K sealer that kind of seals in any bodywork spots that have show through, and it just gives the panel an overall uniformness, to put our paint over. And on this car, we're using a single stage black, which is a urethane product, which means there's no clear coat over it. So once it dries, that's your gloss. So once we get all the paint sprayed on there, we'll usually 3 to 4 coats of color on there. We'll go through and wet sand it all out with a hard block to take out any orange peel or imperfections. Starting at 1,000 grit and working our way up to 1,500, 2,000, and then repolish the panels all out and